Okay, I've got the audio working, but not the video. Okay. Hi, folks. A few technical difficulties here, so bear with me for a moment. I'm going to turn off the camera and disconnect it and reconnect it, and hopefully that will solve the issue. So stand by for one moment, please. I think we've got it now. Oh my God. Yes. Pardon me. Yes, this is what happens when you are. Yeah. I was set up half an hour ago, sitting waiting, and there was some amateur radio activity going on in the background. And just at the key moment, technology lets us down. Anyway, I hope that you can both see and hear me. Seeing me isn't important. I understand hearing is. Now, we have the same issue that we had last week. The people who are watching on Facebook, you're just coming up as Facebook user. Unfortunately, I don't know what's causing that problem. I think that's Johnny Wilson in Dallas, Texas. I hope it is. Johnny, hello to you. Good evening, Anthony. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all well. Looking forward to tonight. Don't know who that is. Apologies. So please, if you're on Facebook, can you send your name with your comment? I know I'm sorry about this. I've no idea what's causing that. Tuesday Thompson is wishing us a happy Mythology Monday. Forgot to mention, this is Live Irish Myths, episode number 297. Welcome to the Mythical Ireland Library. I'm Anthony Murphy, your host. And for the next hour or thereabouts, we're going to be delving into Ireland's mythical and historical past. Great Scott, it's Mythin time. Howdy all to it. That's undoubtedly Rex Fortenberry, I suspect. Hello, Rex. Thomas Cahill's How the Irish Saved Civilization fits right in here. I don't know who that is. Pretty sure I did a book talk episode about that, probably back in 2020. I'll find that for you, actually, because I agree. I think it's a great book. Really enjoy. Yeah, book talk number 2. Back in the day before we had proper cameras and everything. Copy. I'll paste that in as a link, so you can watch that if you want. Who else have we got? Hello, Anthony, and all the two. Still hot in Central Texas, 31 Celsius. That is Elaine Dent Lingenfelter. I know, because she always sends us the temperature report. Wow, it is. I think it was. I think we hit a high of 16 today. And the short evenings are closing in fast. It's dark here. It's been dark here for a while. Who have we got? Who else have we got? Sorry. Lot to catch up on. Lily Shambles, welcome to the World Weather Channel. It has been a glorious sunny day here in Middle England with temperatures of about 17 Celsius. However, the south of England has been under a warning of storms and tornadoes. Wow. One thing I will say about that is a lot of media and social media channels are, sensationalizing everything to do with the weather. It's very hard to believe what's actually going to happen. Here locally, I follow a Facebook page called Louth Weather, because I'm in County Louth, and he's totally against all that sensationalism and provides very sensible weather reports and tells us when all the tabloid media are screaming about storms and, destruction and danger, he tells us, no, nothing to be worried about usually. But there you are. Hello, Connecticut here as well. Who's in Connecticut? Oh, please forgive me. Oh, bugger, you broke it again. I did, didn't I? Yes, down the rabbit hole, says somebody. Funny enough, yeah, I got an email from the Joseph Campbell. What did I get today? The Joseph Campbell Foundation today. And the title of the email was Following Your Bliss, down the rabbit hole. I thought, yeah, I haven't read it yet, actually, so I'll have to do that later. Facebook user is sending smiley faces and maple leaves, so that's somebody who's in Canada. A black screen, ticker tape working, no sound. Yes, I think we got it sorted now. Glendalough, heavy showers, evening all. That's Brendan. Good evening to you, Brendan. Hope all is well with you. It's dark here. Evening, Anthony, Tua, Anthony, and Tom King. That is, apologies. Yeah, no names again. I know. Apologies. I know I should know who it is, but I just can't immediately remember. Hi, everyone. My husband is in surgery. It's been 4 hours now, so I'll miss today, but enjoy. I'll catch up later. This should be the last time I miss. Don't know who that is, but all the very best to your husband, and we wish him a successful surgery and a speedy recovery. Anthony in the red book. Yes. I know, right? How bad is it that, the red book, which is threatened on so many people for being late, has to be produced for the host. Here we go. Episode number. Episode number 297. Late. Anthony Murphy, host. Half hours detention. And 100 lines. I must not be late to class. There you go. Tua blessings from, I don't know who that is. Oh, good. I thought it was on my end. The technical difficulties. I mean, I know it's always a celebration when it's somebody else's fault or problem, isn't it? I thought it was just me. Don't know who that is. Lily Shamble says, yeah, sound. Good stuff. Happy Monday, everyone. Hope you're well. Not sure who that is. Sincere apologies. Hello to all the two. Me and Amadeus are happy to be tuning in. Well, I know who that is. That is Desiree. A very good evening / afternoon to you, and I hope you and the doggo are in good form. Catins saying black screen, turn it off and back. I mean, I know IT professionals who get paid 6 figures a year just to tell people to turn it off and back on again, and it works, most of the time. Oh, that was Lexi. Okay, Lexi, all the very best to your husband. Oh, there we are. Sound and no vision. That was a while ago. Oh, Anthony, you must be in a dark room. Yeah, yeah, a dark room. I think it's better. It's better for you that way. I think Gotta love to turn it off and turn it on again. Yep, and there he is. Hello, there you are. Coda heard that. Amadeus is watching. He did bark there, but I think I might have talked over him. Yay, got it, says Teresa Collins. Hello, Teresa. Carol Casey is in Madison, Wisconsin. A very good afternoon to you, Carol, watching on YouTube. I hope you enjoy the episode as we delve deep into early medieval Ireland. Yay. I see and hear you now. I'm not so sure that's something we should be celebrating. Seems to be working now. I like that one. Black to the future. Brilliant. Rex, yes, doing very well. I hope you're well too. Who's answering who? I'm just going to say that the screen was saying live, but it was blank. Good to be able to see and hear you now, Anthony. Well, I just wanted to, just wanted to see how you would react. Brilliant. So looking forward to the discussion. Good stuff. My comment was from Debbie Sheehy. Yes, Debbie. See, I knew I should have known who it was, but the brain was scrambling around the place looking for the information. Couldn't retrieve it. Well, this is a fun game. Lol. Oh no, Susan Scott here. Thank you, Susan, for telling me who you are, because I have no idea who these comments are. See, when somebody says Glendalough heavy showers, I know that's Brendan Byrne, right? Okay, I'm seeing repeated comments again. Scroll down. Anna L is saying hello, and Anna's View is the YouTube account. Brilliant stuff. Hiya, Anna. Anna L, I hope you're in good form. First time to catch you live from Vancouver Island, Canada. Brilliant. That's Kristen Lang Creative. Well, Kristen, you're very welcome. And a very good afternoon to you. Early afternoon there. I think just past noon, if I'm not right, if I'm not wrong, even Vancouver, you're 8 hours behind us, which means it is 12 minutes past midday for you, 12:12, and it's 8:12 p.m. here. Hi, Anthony and the mighty Tua from a rainy, cool Boston. That is, see, little mouse scrambling around looking through the filing cabinets. Boston. That is, I know who it is, but the name won't come. Oh no, no names again. Susan Scott in Northwest Connecticut. Susan, thank you very much for letting me know who you are. And Adina Sparks is telling us afternoon, where it's a warm but nice day in New Mexico. Brilliant stuff. Adina, thank you for saying hello. Hello, everyone. Still over 100 degrees. Someday it will be cooler. Don't know who that is. Apologies. Theresa Collins. I love Mythology Monday. Gia on Tua Galair from a wet 12 degrees in Killarney. You had a lot of rain down there on Saturday. We were very lucky. We missed most of it. There was flooding in Cork. We can see the names. Yeah, you can, but I can't. And when I'm looking on the Mythical Ireland Facebook page, I can only see the latest 4. So I can't scroll back, you know. Lily is raining and feckin' freezing for the next few days. Best wishes to those in America affected by the last hurricane, especially those due another hit over the next few days. Yes, absolutely. Our thoughts with all those people. Helen Hirsch Chader is watching from the Black Hills of South Dakota. Good afternoon to you, Helen. What a pleasure, as always. That's Paul Campbell. Episode 297 plus 3 equals 300. Yes, still hoping to have an in-person 300. Jacqueline Kelly Adams is here watching from the sunny Pacific Northwest. Good to see you. Have been missing live Irish Myths. Looking forward to enjoying it today. Brilliant. Well, thanks for joining us, Jacqueline. And you know, I always say if you missed it, the recordings of the live streams are still available. So you can watch it even though you're not watching it live. So hopefully that will help. That is Paul saying greetings from Galway City on the Atlantic west coast of Ireland. Hello, Anton and the mighty two. I hope that is undoubtedly Anne McCallum. Oh, yes, she even says it. Unfortunately, can't stay for the whole episode today, but we'll catch up later. That's okay. 9 Celsius this morning, but now a lovely sunny 19. Wow, sounds nice. And don't worry, Anne, we'll catch you on the replay, and we'll see you next time as well, of course. Silent Pilgrim, a wonderful rainy evening. It's actually dry here, and the stars are out, which is nice. Yeah, thanks, Elaine. Yeah, brilliant stuff. Thank you for helping us out with that. And Barbara. Yes, indeed, Barbara Murphy. But I'm trying to share this Facebook Live, but unusually not showing on my Facebook page. I told you, I had a rant about that. Was that last week or the week before? Facebook going down the tubes. Erica Bowes in the house. Good afternoon to you, Erica. Hope you're in good form. Welcome to the live stream. That is Peter Kennedy in Ballybrigeen, Balbriggan. A nice mild evening here. Yes, indeed. Same here. To be fair, Anthony, it's always dark down a rabbit hole. I bet that was where he was at the start. Yeah, I'd say that's Brendan Byrne if I was to guess. In a dark room looking for a black cat. Yes, there was a black cat across the street from me when I parked the car earlier on. Janet Moran, yes, you see, I knew. It's like it was there somewhere, but just couldn't retrieve it, you know. For those watching for the first time, only 297 episodes to catch up. Yeah, apologies, 296, yes, from last week's backwards. Greetings from sunny San Diego, California. That's Catherine Cleary. Good afternoon to you, Catherine. And I'm glad to hear that it's sunny in San Diego. Hello, Tom King, if pop in. Hope the fire is still burning brightly. Won't be staying to the end, unfortunately. We can be bold students tonight, and Anthony won't know who to stand. I can. You see, I'm watching Brendan Byrne. I know that's you. And that's Anne McCallum saying hello to Tom. Yeah, so that I'm up to date. So let's get on with it, shall we? You know, and I still get occasional comments on the YouTube videos afterwards from people complaining, saying, when are you going to start actually doing the talking, the live stream? You know, like they don't understand. This is a huge part of what Live Irish Myths is about. It's about welcoming people, and it's about community, and about bringing people together from around the world. Ivania Lee is saying, Marina morning, Croy, so I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Welcome. And a very good morning to you, Ivania, who is down on the other side of the planet, fascinatingly. Happy Tuesday to you. So last week we were talking about, as we had been the previous week, long chapter, but a very interesting one, about the Bardic schools and the monastic schools. And we were reading about how, the two sort of existed side by side. There were lay people who studied at the ecclesiastical schools, but the greatest amount of information that we have is about the Bardic schools, surprisingly, given that the monks were the ones who wrote everything down. Brendan Byrne says it's about friends. Yes, indeed. Love all the hellos, says Susan Scott. Yeah, I mean, it's better when you're live, because when you're not live and you're watching it back, you may want to just get to the reading, or the discussion, or the talk, or whatever. And I understand that, but like, why? In the time it takes people to write a comment saying, when are you going to get round to actually talking about the subject and stop talking to people? You would have actually, used the fast forward feature on YouTube, the timeline, and found it much quicker than it took you to type the comment. Why do people have to be, negative and, narky, especially when this is a free service? They're not paying for it. If they were paying for it, maybe they might be entitled to make the occasional complaint. Anyway. Yeah. I suppose it's when they're watching it back. Miriam, that's Miriam Nichira. When they're watching it back, they're sometimes frustrated at having to listen to 20 or 25 minutes of me saying hello to my friends around the world, the Mythical Ireland community, the Mythflix Tua, as we call them. My view on it is, well, it's really very simple. There's a time bar that you can just click on and scroll along to find the start of the episode proper and the end of the hellos. Barb Jordan is saying hi to everyone. Apologies, Barb. We're having the same problem as we had last week with Facebook. I can see that it's you on Facebook, but on the stream, you're just showing up as Facebook user. So there you are. I love that you greet us, and that's Janet Moran. I think it just makes people feel welcome. It's like a catch-up time. Hello, says Susan Scott. Yeah, and the other thing, don't forget, is when you think about where this began on the eve of the first COVID-19 pandemic lockdown in Ireland. And there were lockdowns all across the world, and people felt very uncertain and very agitated and very anxious. And I was one of those. And part of the reason I started doing a live stream was to connect with people out there and to distract myself from that anxiety and that confusion. And nobody knew what was going to happen. And for months and months and months, we were all basically locked in, either to our homes or within a very short distance of our homes. So yeah, that part of it, I don't think I would like to ever give up, even though I did a tour recently at the Hill of Tara as part of the Boyne Valley Walking Trails September Walking Festival. Boyne Valley Trails September Walking Festival. And afterwards, a lady said, really enjoyed it. But just when you were talking to us, you said during the COVID pandemic, as if it was a thing of the past. And I suppose she's right. It's still there, and people are still catching it. Thankfully, the sensible of those among us who got vaccinated didn't get a very severe dose of it, mostly. So there you are. And but we're still here 4.5 years later, and I hope that I know that you, from your comments, that you enjoy it. Yeah, and Desiree says, if you didn't go do the greeting, we probably wouldn't all got to become friends, and I might never have got to meet the Colorado Six. Sound like a bunch of highway robbers or something, And I remember I had gone 2 weeks without hearing a single person say my name during COVID because I was alone during lockdown. Netflix was a blessing. Yeah, there you go. You all helped me to get through COVID. I live alone, and we're all a great blessing. That's Susan Scott. Yeah. Yeah, and that's true, Elaine. Some folks are happiest when they can drag others down, but it just seems to be a thing about social media. I'm growing tired of it. It's just every day it's all negative, and it just all the social media companies seem to want to bring out the worst in human nature, and I just won't go there, to be honest. And when when that sort of stuff happens, I just kind of withdraw from it. Um, this podcast saved us during COVID. That's Brendan Byrne. I somehow felt that life would continue and the world would be a better place. Wow. Yeah, there you go. You're going to make me cry now. So I'm going to start reading to distract myself from my emotions. O'Curry quotes a curious note, characteristically Irish, from another old authority about AD 1450, which corroborates the above in the form of a quaint pedigree of learning. Quote, schoolboy, i.e., a mere beginner, the son of Lesson. Now that's Lesson, but that's an Irish word, i.e., a learner from beginning to read. The son of Coegdoch, the son of Folanshia, the son of Deshkeval, the son of Staruia, the son of Shi Litre, the son of Shi Canina, the son of Drimch, the son of the living God, unquote. Pardon me for the perhaps slightly erroneous pronunciations of some of those Middle Irish names. I mean Middle Irish as in the language, not middle names in Irish. So awesome to see people from half the world here. Need to arrange a picnic next spring right at the River Boyne and meet everybody in person. I'm on for that. Absolutely. Yes. There be the trolls. That's Ivania. Yep. And don't feed them is the thing. Try. But it's just that social media is just full of it. And it seems to have inculcated, is that the word? It seems to have promoted an attitude among a lot of people who've become accustomed to just saying whatever they want, unfiltered on social media. And then that happens in real life. And I'm like, wow, where's your manners? Check your privilege and, calm down. Yeah, it transfers into real life. That's the other problem. People just build habits. And now they're just saying what's on their mind and it's totally unfiltered, even if it's very insulting or it's very hurtful or it's just there's absolutely no need for it at all. Anyway, I'm going to shut up now. I really am. There's Carmel Boyle. Hello, Carmel. Up in Tullyallen, isn't it? Brilliant stuff. Great to see you, Carmel. Hope you're in good form. Long time no see. And I see that you're keeping up the music, which is fabulous. Am I right in saying you brought out several albums this year? Not just one. Wow. Hats off to you and fair play. The two preceding classifications had special reference to collegiate life and collegiate arrangements. There was a third classification, 7 ecclesiastical grades, having reference solely to the church. In each of the two former, as we have seen, there were, quote, 7 grades of wisdom or learning, unquote. These last are called simply, quote, 7 grades of the church, unquote. In Irish, Seacht Ngráid Acalsa, Eacalsa, English, being a church. Namely, lector or reader, in Irish, leachtror, janitor, the bell ringer, in Irish, astror, exorcist, in Irish, exorcisti, because the D would be Leonard, exorcisti. Wow, exorcist. Says you, I want to be that. I want to do that job. Subdeacon, and some of these Irish words are, of course, barely Gaelicized versions of English words. Subdeacon, suiv jochan, deacon, jochan, priest, sacart, S-A-C-A-R-T. In modern Irish, priest is sagart, S-A-G-A-R-T. And bishop, Ascov, E-A-S-C-O-B. These are all named and their functions briefly set forth in the law tract called the Small Primer, and that's from the Brehon Laws, Volume 5, number 23. The 7 orders of the Church and the 7 orders of wisdom are expressly distinguished in the heptads. And that's again from Brehon Laws, Volume 5. Now we go on to school life and school methods. What's up? That's Nora Gaffney O'Connor saying hello. Hello, Nora. What's up with you? I hope you're in good form. Not only, but this helped me through my cancer recovery that lasted through the virus. Thanks, Anthony. I'm not sure who that was. Unfortunately, I missed. I can only see the latest 4 comments on Facebook, so apologies about that. Reading through the ecclesiastical and other literature, we often light on incidental passages that give us many an occasional glimpse into the Irish colleges, so as to enable us to judge how professors and students lived, and, as it were, to see them at their work. Some students lived in the houses of the people of the neighbourhood. Poor scholars, that's in quotes, the precursors of those mentioned in previously. A few resided in the college itself, those, for instance, who were literary foster children of the masters. But the body of the scholars lived in little houses built mostly by themselves around and near the school. That sounds like real community, doesn't it? Long before we had the idea of mortgages and, having to spend half your lifetime paying back a bank or a building society so that you could have a roof over your head. You could actually build a house near a school, I've lost my place now. Apologies. But yes. Of this custom, we have many notices in our old writings. In the Irish life of St. Columkill, we are told that when he went as a student to the College of St. Finian at Clonard, his first step was to ask Finian, Joyce spells it Finnen, Finan. I think he's more popularly known as Finian, Finian, but it doesn't really matter. In what place shall I build my hut, unquote? Quote, build it just beside the church, unquote, replied Finian. In the same life, we read that St. Moby, that's Mobi, had 50 students in his school at Glasnevin near Dublin, who had their huts, Botha, Botha, ranged along one bank of the river, that's the Tolka River, while their little church was on the opposite bank. Sometimes several lived together in one large house. In the leading colleges, whole streets of these houses surrounded the monastery, forming a collegiate town. The poorer scholars sometimes lived in the same houses with the rich ones, whom they waited on and served, receiving in return food, clothing, and other necessaries, like the American custom of the present day. And remember, this book was published in 1903. Gerald Griffin says, excellent. Good stuff, Gerald. Pleasure to welcome you to Live Irish Myths. Hope you're enjoying it. But some chose to live in this humble capacity, not through poverty, but as a self-imposed discipline and mortification, like Adovnon mentioned here. As illustrating this phase of school life, an interesting story is told in the life of King Finnachta the Festive. I love some of the names, like Tuathail Techtmar, the 1st or 2nd century AD king of Meath, whose name means Tuathail the acceptable, isn't it? Or Tuathail the adequate. So this is King Finnachta the Festive. He must have been a jolly fellow. Maybe he was dressed in red and he carried a sack of toys around the place. A little before his accession, he was riding one day towards Clonard with his retinue when they overtook a boy with a jar of milk on his back. The youth, attempting to get out of the way, stumbled and fell, and the jar was broken and the milk spilled. The cavalcade passed on without noticing him, but he ran after them in great trouble with a piece of the jar on his back, till at last he attracted the notice of the prince, who halted and questioned him in a good-humoured way. The boy, not knowing whom he was addressing, told his story with amusing plainness. Quote, indeed, good man, I have much cause to be troubled. There are living in one house near the college 3 noble students, and 3 others that wait on them, of whom I am one. And we 3 attendants have to collect provisions in the neighbourhood in turn for the whole 6. It was my turn today, and lo, what I have ordained has been lost, and this vessel which I borrowed has been broken, and I have not the means to pay for it." Unquote. Now, I'm guessing the message here is don't cry over spilled milk, but I could be mistaken, of course. Just watching the comments. The prince soothed him and told him his loss should be made good and promised to look after him in the future. This boy was Adovnon, a descendant and relative of princes, subsequently a most distinguished man, 9th abbot of Iona, and the writer of the life of Saint Columba. The prince was as good as his word, and after he became king, invited Adovnon to his court, where the rising young ecclesiastic became his trusted friend and spiritual advisor. There were no spacious lecture halls such as we have. The masters taught and lectured, and the scholars studied, very much in the open air, when the weather permitted, which would be about half the time in Ireland. There were no prizes and no cramming for competitive examinations, for learning was pursued for its own sake. Wow. Imagine we continue to follow that mantra today, where the school system is very, very competitive and very arduous and onerous. In all the schools, whether public or private, a large proportion of the students got both books and education free, but those who could afford it paid for everything. Wow. What an amazing system. Again, we could take a leaf out of that book, couldn't we? In those days, there were no detailed Latin grammars, no first Latin books, and the learners had to face the language in a rough and ready way by beginning right off at the author. That's what it says. I thought I might have read it wrong, but there you are. Poetic Byrne is saying, "Evening all from Mount Mellick in County Laois." Hello, Poetic. Welcome. While the students held their manuscript copies in their hands, the teacher read, translated, and explained the text. And in this rugged and difficult way, these young people acquired a knowledge of the language. In order to aid the learners, the professors and teachers often wrote between the lines or on the margin of the copies of the Latin classical texts, literal translations of the most difficult words, or free renderings of the sense into Gaelic phrases. And in this manner were produced the glosses described in chapter 12, section 3, infra, which is further on, which we'll get to hopefully in a future episode. Lynn Murphy is in the house. Hello, Lynn. Welcome to Live Irish Myths. Hope you're in good form. In teaching a child book learning, the first thing was, of course, the alphabet. Oh, I found that book. I did, didn't I? But the one I've been talking about lately, I still haven't read it. I found it. Yes. Sorry, I'm completely going to go down a slight rabbit hole here. I know you all encourage me to do that. I have to turn off the camera for that because it has to be dark. And make the lights come on just like that, you know. Hang on, sorry. That is the book, The Alphabet versus the Goddess, the conflict between word and image. This book was gifted to me by our good friend and regular Live Irish Myths viewer, John Main, who is currently in San Francisco. I hope he's okay. I know he was having some health issues lately. John, I'm not sure if you're watching or if you're watching this back afterwards, but my best regards to you. Hope you're good form. This groundbreaking book proposes that the rise of alphabetic literacy, the process of reading and writing, fundamentally reconfigured the human brain and brought about profound changes in history, religion, and gender relations, making remarkable connections across brain function, myth, and Anthropology, Leonard Schlein shows why agricultural pre-literate cultures were principally informed by holistic right brain modes that venerated the goddess and feminine values and images. Writing, particularly alphabets, drove cultures towards linear left brain thinking. This shift upset the balance between men and women, initiating the decline of the feminine, and also ushered in the reign of patriarchy and misogyny. Examining the cultures of the Israelites, Greeks, Christians, and Muslims, he reinterprets many myths and parables in light of this theory. Schlein traces the effect of literacy on the Dark Ages, Mary, Gutenberg, the Reformation, and the witch hunts. So that is it, and it is published by... Oh, I did read a bit of it. I just have so much to read. So many books, and not enough time to read them in. Penguin Compass is the publisher. The Alphabet versus the Goddess. Now, when I mentioned that a few streams ago, there was a lot of interest in it. I mentioned it again, there was a lot more interest. So there it is. I found it in the library. Turns out it wasn't behind me. Most of the library is behind me, but there's a small portion of books in front of me. So all I actually needed to do a few weeks ago was look up. There you go. Who is Joe? I think Auntie Joe is here. I finally joined in. Hello from sunny, warm Colorado. I shared the live stream to the Mythical Learning Community and Creatives pages. Brilliant stuff. Auntie Joe, thank you very much for all your help. Definitely, you're a brilliant one. You're a keeper, as they say in Ireland. Doesn't mean you're a goalkeeper, by the way. It just means you're a wonderful person. Yes, the alphabet. St. Columbkill's first alphabet was written or impressed on a cake, which he afterwards ate. Yeah, I like that idea. That's like alphabet soup, spaghetti letters. Instead of gingerbread men, make a gingerbread alphabet and then scoff it afterwards. This points to a practice which we sometimes see at the present day of writing the alphabet or shaping it in some way on sweetmeats as an encouragement and help to what has been and always will be a difficult task for a child. Sometimes they engraved the alphabet for beginners on a large stone, of which an example is shown on figure 121. Unfortunately, in this facsimile reprint of the original book, all of the figures and photos or illustrations, they're all blank. Maybe for copyright reasons, I don't know. They just blanked them out. But they're all missing in this facsimile reprint. So if you get the original, you'll probably pay a few £100 for it. You might see those. It's probably downloadable as a PDF, but if it's available on Scholar Select, that PDF won't have the figures in it either. It was the practice of many eminent teachers to compose educational poems embodying the leading facts of history or of other branches of instruction. And a considerable proportion of the metrical compositions preserved in our ancient books belong to this class. Yeah, the metrical Gentianicus, a great example of it. If you make it rhyme, you make it easier to remember. You make learning it more enjoyable. Talk about eating your homework. That's Brendan, is it? I'm not sure who that is. I'd say that's Brendan. Gerald Griffin joined late. Great pleasure to hear you. Well, Gerald, it's a great pleasure to welcome you to the live stream. And don't forget to come back every Monday at 8 p.m. To hear us talk about ancient Ireland. These poems, having poems, I like saying poems, is how we would say it here in Drogheda, but I like saying poems. It's something, a lovely posh resonance to that. I'm just trying to be posh. I'm really... I'm really a bit of a commoner myself, really, If you scratch beneath the surface, you find a commoner. These poems, having been committed to memory by the scholars, were commented on and explained by their authors. Flann of Monastic Boyce, just up the road from me here, a couple of miles from where I'm sitting, maybe 3 or 4 miles. Flann of Monastic Boyce followed this plan, and we still have copies of several of his educational poems, chiefly historical. He also used his synchronisms for the same purpose. In the Book of Leinster, there is a curious geographical poem forming a sort of forming a sort of class book of general geography, which was used in the great school of Russ Eileher in Cork, written, pardon me, that's the chicken casserole that we had for dinner. It was absolutely fabulous. Written in the 10th century by Macos the Ferligan, containing all that was then known of the principal countries of the world. And there's a footnote there, which you may be interested in, published with translation by the Reverend Thomas Olden in Proceedings of the Royal Irish Academy for 1879 to 1886, page 219. For many other poems of this class, see O'Curry's Manuscripts and Customs, Lectures 7 and 8. Where was I? Where is that footnote? Oh yeah, there we are. The reader need scarcely be reminded that teachers of the present day sometimes adopt the same plan, especially in teaching history. Sometimes boys were sent to be taught at the colleges at a very early age, mere children. When St. Finchois of Brigaun, or is it Brigaun? I don't know, was only 7 years of age, he was brought by St. Covgall to his college at Bangor, quote, and studies there with him like every other pupil, unquote. St. Mochua of Bala, is that Bala in County Mayo? I'm not sure. When he was only a, quote, little lame child, unquote, employed by his parents to herd sheep, was brought also to Bangor by Covgall, where he began his studies. There were probably many other cases of this kind, so that some special provision must have been made by the college authorities for the accommodation of such young children. Desiree is talking about getting t-shirts made. The Mythflix Colorado 6. Yeah. Yeah. 6 highway women. 6 marauders. 6 reprobates. No, of course I'm joking. 6 brilliant, wonderful people. There was a very early appreciation of good methods in teaching. For instance, the maxim which all experienced teachers follow, that pupils are encouraged to exert themselves by getting moderate praise for their work, is noticed in one of the 8th century glosses referred to by Zeus. Now, I told you before, this is not Zeus, the Greek god. This is Zeus, Z-E-U-S-S. Quote, it is the custom of good teachers to praise the understanding of the hearers, i.e. their pupils, that they may love what they hear, unquote. And that's so true. I mean, I said to my wife earlier today, we were talking about somebody that we know who's a school teacher, and, you know, she was saying he's really loving it. And I said, you know, teaching is such a noble profession. And the best teachers are those who, you know, inculcate a love of learning into their students, into their pupils, that they really love what they're doing, that they really love what they're learning, that they want to learn more, that there's a joy in going to school and to lessons. Are you going to your lessons? Did you do your lessons? The older people used to say that, you know, instead of are you doing your homework, they'd say, are you doing your lessons? And if you were at school, they'd say, did you do your lessons, or were you at your lessons today, you know? Is Briggle related to the Brigands? Now, I don't think I know, Ivania, who the Briggle is, or the Brigands. So apologies. I'm stumped on that one. I feel it would be a Western, says Desiree. Yeah, you all riding into town, into Denver on horseback, you know, 6 gun-slinging, dangerous women. That's the way women have to be in the world today. You have to be dangerous, don't you? Otherwise, you just get completely pushed aside and ignored, you know. So, yeah. Rex Fortenberry sending a smiley face with a cowboy hat on. I like that. So far, the education given in schools and colleges, that is to say literary education, has been dealt with. But there was a home education also, a simple sort of technical instruction in certain handicrafts and accomplishments that all must master to a greater or less extent in order to discharge the ordinary duties of everyday life. Now, before I continue with that, I'm going to tell you about some social changes in Ireland in my lifetime. When I was young, it was customary, and I really hope this doesn't sound sexist because it's a reflection of what used to be the reality. It was a thing that a lot of women, I wouldn't say a majority, maybe it was a majority. If you go back 3 generations, it was definitely was. All had to have knitting and darning, as we called it, a bit of crochet, needlework, dressmaking, and repairing, simply because a lot of people couldn't afford new clothes. So the requisite action when clothes became tatty was to repair them. And also, it's not that long ago that maybe it's still being taught in some schools, but home economics was taught in schools, particularly in girls' secondary schools. So girls learned to make cakes and, sew and knit and all that sort of stuff. Now, I know by modern standards, of course, it's misogynistic. The idea that a woman stays in the home and does the washing up and cleans the house and repairs the clothes. But it's a reality of how life was when I was younger. And I remember my grandmother in particular, my father's mother, and my mother's mother and my mother were all very accomplished knitters. And, my Granny Murphy made what we would call teddies, soft toys. Again, knitting one and filling it with stuffing and sewing it together was a cheaper alternative to buying one. There wouldn't have been many toy shops, that many when I was young, although there were a few which probably did very well, but no Amazon, no internet. You can't just click on something online and go, here's my credit card, and it arrives at your house the next day or a few days later. Yeah, life was very different in the past. But I think my point here is that those sort of domestic handicrafts and accomplishments, were a prerequisite to life. I mean, it was either learn them or you're not going to make it through life. You're going to find it very, very difficult. Now, when we get a hole in a sock, we throw it out. We buy a new pair in the clothes store. Back then, quite often, mothers in particular, very few fathers that I knew who could do anything with a knitting needle or a sewing needle. They were darned, as it were. The holes were filled. And of course, we all had hand-me-downs. We didn't throw clothes out. We couldn't afford wardrobes full of new clothes. So when you grew out of your clothes, they were handed down to a younger sibling. That was widespread custom. It would appear that fathers and mothers were left to their own discretion as to the training of their children in this direction. But in case of fosterage, the law stepped in and laid down stringent rules for the home education of foster children, from which we may infer that such instruction was supposed to be, and generally was, given by parents to their own children. The home education prescribed was very sensible, aiming directly at preparing for the future life of the child. The sons of the humbler ranks were to be taught how to herd kids, calves, lambs, and young pigs. Now, that stuff wasn't commonplace when I was young. Maybe it might have been in certain parts of the countryside, but not in the towns. How to kiln dry corn, to prepare malt, to comb wool, and to cut and split wood. The girls how to use the needle according to their station in life, to grind corn with a quern, to knead dough, and to use a sieve. Some of these fit under that heading of home economics. The sons of chiefs were to be instructed in archery, it's far more exciting than needlework, swimming, and chess playing. Yeah, it's totally sexist, right? While the women are inside, kneading dough, herding pigs, and making dinner or whatever. The men are, playing with bows and arrows, swimming and playing chess. In the use of the sword and spear and horsemanship, the horse to be supplied by the father. But the law expressly states that no horses were to be given with boys of the fania or farmer grade, for they were not taught horsemanship. The daughters of the chieftain grades given in fosterage were to be instructed in sewing, cutting out, and embroidery. Now, I'm not sure what period of time he's referring to here. I know earlier he mentioned a source that was 1450 AD. I would take it this is sort of Middle Ages and later. In other words, the last millennium, sometime between 1000 and 2000 AD, somewhere in the middle of those, probably. But probably talking about a long period of time, too, not a specific decade or century, you know. Lynn Murphy states that woman can be dangerous. Woman armed with a sewing needle can be dangerous. Man armed with a chessboard can be boring. Yes, indeed. The daughters of the chieftain grades were given in fosterage were to be instructed in sewing, cutting out, and embroidery. For the neglect of any of these branches of instruction, there was a fine of 2/3 of the fosterage fee. I'll tell you, serious stuff. Now we go on to the section called the Men of Learning. Sorry, ladies, yet again you find yourselves pushed to the side, pushed to the shadows. Because even in the era in which this book was written, this is 1903, of course, women had second-class citizenship in society. Miriam says everyone should learn to repair clothes and homekeeping. I have to say, especially men. Agree. Although you wouldn't want me repairing your clothes. I guarantee I would screw it up. The little bit of dating I've done, some men's flats are atrocious and they don't know a thing about keeping a home. Guilty as charged. Professions hereditary. In ancient Ireland, the professions almost invariably ran in families, so that members of the same household devoted themselves to one particular science or art: poetry, history, medicine, building, law, as the case might be, for generations. This is well expressed by Camden, quote, "And of these professions there be in each territory several professors, and those within some certain families, that is to say, the Bretons, or judges, be of one flock and name, the historians of another, and so of the rest who instruct their own children and kinsmen, and have some of them always to be their successors," unquote. I remember it well, says Lynn, darning socks too. I love making clothes from wool. I helped my granny. Yeah, and you know what? It is a great skill, you know, and taking a lot of time and patience to make things like woolly jumpers and blankets and socks and hats and gloves. And did I mention scarves? I'm not sure. Yeah, all that stuff. And teddy bears, like my granny. Olives or doctors and their requirements. Olive was the title of the highest degree in any art or profession. Thus we read of an olive poet, an olive builder, an olive goldsmith, an olive physician, an olive lawyer. Olive. I would be tending to say olive to pronounce it as close to the Irish as I possibly can. And so forth, just as we have in modern times doctors of music, of literature, of philosophy, of medicine, etc. In order to attain the degree of olive, a candidate had to graduate through all the lower steps, and for this final degree, he had to submit his work, whether literary compositions or any other performance, to some eminent olive who was selected as judge. This olive made a report to the, quote, king of territories, unquote, i.e. of the Mór Tuatha, not only on the candidate's work, but also on his general character, whether he was upright, free from unjust dealings, and pure in conduct and word, i.e. free from free from immorality, bloodshed, and abuse of others. That's live TV for you folks, no hiding place. If the report was favourable the king formally conferred the degree, a ceremony which the commentator on the Seanchus Mór calls Urned Arri. I'll try it again. Urned Eg Ritua, literally, quote, ordination by the king of territories, unquote. My aunt taught me how to knit a scarf, says Brendan Byrne. Only problem, she never showed me how to finish. Still going. Brilliant. Brendan, I think you and I are cut from the same cloth where humour is concerned. The cheesier and the what's cheesy and the cheesier and cornier the better. Almost every Olive of whatever profession kept apprentices who lived in his house and who learned their business by the teaching and lectures of the master, by reading and by actual practice, or seeing the master practice, for they accompanied him on his professional visits. The number under some Olives was so large as to constitute a little school. There was, of course, a fee, in return for which, as the Brehon law expresses it, quote, instruction without reservation and correction without harshness are due from the master to the pupil, and to feed and clothe him during the time he is at his learning, unquote. Moreover, as in the case of the literary teacher, the pupil was bound to help the master in old age if poverty came on him. Wow. Such a, what's the word? An egalitarian society? Such a, the notion of just helping each other. The same passage in the Brehon law continues, quote, to help him against poverty and to support him in old age. These are due from the pupil to the tutor, unquote. Veronica Smith says, hello, I'm here. Yeah. Brilliant stuff, Veronica. You're only an hour late, but come here. I'm not going to take out the red book on account of the fact that it's only a joke anyway. I hope you're in good form. A literary Olive, as a filly or poet, was expected to be able to compose a quatrain or some very short poem extemporaneously, i.e., without thinking, ad hoc, spontaneously, on any subject proposed on the moment, and he was always called upon to do so when the degree was conferred on him, this being an essential part of the ceremony. The Olive, says the gloss on the Seanchus Mór, quote, did this, i.e. composed an extempore quatrain, after his ordination, i.e. after the degree was conferred on him, by the king of the territories, unquote. As a Seanachie or historian, the Olive was understood to be specially learned in the history, chronological synchronisms, antiquities, and genealogies of Ireland. We have already seen that he should know by heart 350 historical and romantic stories, namely 250 of what were called prime or principal stories and 100 secondary, so as to be able to recite any one or more of them when called upon at a moment's notice. He was also supposed to know the prerogatives, rights, duties, restrictions, tributes, etc. of the King of Ireland and of the provincial kings. Quote, the poet or the learned historian, says the Book of Rights, open quote again, who does not know the prerogatives and the prohibitions of these kings is not entitled to visitation or to sale, quote, of his compositions, in brackets. Farther on in the same authority, a similar statement is made in a more amplified and emphatic form. And here it is added that the Olive was expected, if asked, to repeat the whole statement from memory, quote, so that he can recite them all at each noble meeting, unquote. As a learned man, he was expected to answer reasonable questions and explain difficulties. Quote, he is great to expound, and he expounds and solves questions, unquote, says Cormac's glossary. That's page 127 under the heading Olive. These were large requirements, but then he spent many years of preparation, and once admitted to the coveted rank, the guerdon was splendid. for he was highly honoured, had many privileges, and received princely rewards and presents. He should do after so many years of study. Imagine having to learn by heart 350 historical and romantic stories. Wow. Elsewhere, it is shown that a king kept in his household an olive of each profession, who was well paid for his services. The literary olive never condescended to exercise his profession. Indeed, he was forbidden to do so for any but the most distinguished company, kings and chiefs and such like, with their guests. He left the poets of the lower grades to attend a lower class of people. The prices for the compositions of the several grades of poets may be seen in the small primer, and that's Brehon Laws, Volume 5. The poets sang their poems when reciting. Actually, that's something I've been talking about on my tours. So that Amergin, said to have been the first poet of Ireland, the bard of the Milesians, when they came to take Ireland from the Tuatha Dé Danann, uttered a poem which is often referred to as the Song of Amergin, and commonly accompanied themselves with the music of a small harp. What's it called? Mendcrot, isn't it? Cruha is a harp. But in Middle Irish, a harp was called a mendcrot, I think. Mendcrott. I think. I could be wrong. I could be wrong with the prefix of that. I know. Why am I going down this rabbit hole? Does it matter? It does. Yes. Yeah, I think it's Mendcrot. Mendcrot. It's not coming up as a head word on the electronic dictionary of the Irish language. Mendcrot. Harp. Showing results for Minecraft harp. No, I didn't do a Minecraft search. Thank you. Yeah, Mendcrot. We actually mentioned it in episode number 203, which was about the bards. So I've satisfied myself that Mendcrot is the Middle Irish word for a harp. I've no idea why I needed to do that, but I just did. So there you are. I think our Tom is absent today, or did I miss him? I haven't seen him. Yeah. He's probably doing it. He's probably hosting a great feast or a tour at his forge right now. They should all be watching. Yes, indeed. This we know from many passages in old literature. Adamnan relates how on one occasion a poet came up to St. Columba beside Lough Key near Boyle in Roscommon. And when after some conversation he had gone away, the saint's companion said to him, quote, "Why did you not ask Cronan the poet for a song to be sung musically after manner of his art?" Unquote. And again in another authority, on a certain day in the season of autumn, as Phelim Macryphon, monarch of Erin, was in Cashel of the Kings, there came to him the abbot of the church, who took his little 8-stringed harp from his girdle and played sweet music and sang a poem to it. Unquote. The Irish Helicon, I think that's what it says, yes. If we are to believe the legends, there was a royal road to the Olive's great learning. For the ancient Irish had their Helicon as well as the Greeks. King Cormac MacArt was on one occasion wandering through Tir Tairngire, or Fairyland, also known as the Land of Promise, isn't it? When he saw beside the rampart of a royal dune or palace a shining fountain with 5 streams issuing from it, making a murmur more melodious than any mortal music. There were 5 salmon swimming about in the well, and on the margin grew 9 hazels, which often dropped purple nuts into the water. And of course, this sounds like Segish or Nectan's well, the well that spawned the River Boyne. Sorry, taking a margin note here. The moment a nut fell, one of the salmon caught it, and rejecting the husk, ate the kernel. As Cormac looked on, he saw many people coming to the well in turn and drinking. And when he inquired the meaning of these strange sights, he was told that this was the fountain of knowledge, that the 5 streams were the 5 senses through which knowledge is obtained, and that those who drank were at once endowed with great knowledge, so that they were thenceforward called people of many arts and sciences. Lucht na Nildan. And Nildan, of course, the gifts or the crafts or arts, part of the epithet of the great Tua the Dana deity Lu, Lu Samildánach, Lu the many gifted. The 5 salmon in this fountain were the same as the salmon of knowledge, of another and better form of this legend. In the north of the present County Tipperary, there was a beautiful fountain called Cunla's Well, in which there were a number of salmon swimming about, and from which flowed a stream to the Shannon. And that's a, sort of a copy or another version of the Boyne myth. Sorry, just checking something here, because I wanted to... sorry. I have to get distracted here for a moment because it's something I need to announce before the episode is over. I need it to be up on the screen when I'm saying it. Apologies. Another rabbit hole. Take a moment. Conla's well, yes. Over this well, there grew 9 beautiful hazel trees, which produced blossoms and crimson nuts simultaneously. Whenever a nut dropped into the well, a salmon darted up and ate it, and whatever number of nuts any one of them swallowed, so many bright red spots appeared on its belly. So the more spots on a salmon, the wiser it was. Which makes sense that the older ones were wiser. Well, they're not always in human terms, but in salmon terms, they probably are. All the knowledge of the arts and sciences was in some mysterious way concentrated into these nuts, and the salmon that ate of them became, quote, a salmon of knowledge, unquote, Ofessa, E-O-Fada, F-E-S-S-A, and swam down the stream to the Shannon, or as we'd know in modern Irish, Bradán Fassa. Whoever could succeed in catching and eating one of these salmon, his student drudgery was ended. For he became at once a great poet, and was, besides, endued with all knowledge, with knowledge of all the arts and sciences. And of course, that's the story of Fionn McCool and the Salmon of Knowledge, about which I published the first of my monographs, and I don't know if that was number 7 or 8 of my books. That one, which you can buy a signed copy of on the Mythical Ireland website. Go to the shop and books and order yourself a copy. Hence, poets and storytellers, speaking of any subject difficult to deal with, often say, quote, unless I had eaten the salmon of knowledge, I could not describe it, unquote. I love that. Really love that. I often find myself in that situation, by the way, you know, where I'm lost for words, unable to describe something. Unless I had eaten the salmon of knowledge, I could not describe it. In Cormac's glossary, these hazels are mentioned, showing the antiquity of the legend. Cormac's glossary, late 9th century AD, by the way. So what, 11 centuries, between 11 and 12 centuries old. Here they are called by the name of Kyle Crinvone, i.e. hazels of scientific composition. Of poetry, of course, in brackets. From coil, hazel, plural, coil, C-O-I-L-L, and they are defined as, quote, hazels from which come a new composition, unquote. According to other accounts, there was a fountain of this kind at the source of every chief river of Ireland. And of course, the Boyne, no stranger to that. Is Tom in the house at last, is he? Apparently Tom has arrived. Tom, we were all wondering where the hell you were. No doubt on a very important duty, of course. But everybody was missing you. And so, hello. Should I take the red book out, folks? He's very late. I mean, he's over an hour late. I think that's a red book offence, to be honest. It's a bookable offence. Red card offence, really, you know. I jest, of course. Chief Poet's Mantle. And I'm going to finish shortly because I have to go somewhere. Da-da-da! Surprise, surprise. On state occasions, the chief poet of all Ireland wore a precious mantle, elaborately ornamented, called tuigen or taigen, sometimes called stuigen, Stuigen. In the Book of Rights, it is stated that a knowledge of the privileges of the King of Cashel will always be found, quote, with the chief poet of the Gael, unquote, together with the taigen. Cormac's glossary derives tugen, 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 from toga, Toga, but it gives an alternative derivation, and of course, toga is a Latin for a cloak, or not necessarily a cloak, but a tunic, is it? But it gives an alternative derivation which explains how this mantle was made. Quote, otherwise, tuigen is derived from tuiga n, Tuige-en, the tuiga or covering of the feathers of birds, ein, e for the n, for it is of skins of birds white and many-coloured that the poet's mantle from their girdle downwards is made, and of the necks of drakes and of their crests it is made from their girdle upwards to their necks. Wow. Bird feather cloak. I like that. I was with a couple of friends yesterday. I was giving them a tour in this area, and they're both originally from the States, but of Irish descent. And one of them in particular is quite friendly with some of the Lakota people, the native tribe. And he said a lot of similarities between Irish mythological traditions and cosmological notions. And well, here we go, even in terms of perhaps in terms of dress, you know. I'm going to be finishing soon because as well as putting out the bins, I have to make an errand. Poets' musical branch. All classes of poets were accustomed to carry a little musical branch. Branch? So apparently this will be discussed in more detail later on. Over their head, which tinkled as they went along. That carried by an olive was of gold, that by an anruth of silver, while all lower classes had a branch of bronze. And we'll finish on the next one. Poet on horseback. An olive or acis, E for the CES, acish, rode on horseback on his journeys, so that a horsewhip, echlashk, was looked upon as an essential for him, just as a gipna or cupping horn was for a doctor. A man who had an action against a poet might distrain his horsewhip, leaving it with him still, but with an injunction that he was not to use it, which was understood to reduce him to helplessness, inasmuch as he could not ride without the whip. Really fascinating stuff. I am gaining so many insights, and I'm being reminded of so much stuff that I maybe read before but didn't take in. Amadeus says, hi back, Mr. Coda. He missed you last week when I was at my dentist appointment. Yes, you could hear him making his voice very loudly heard there. Since your bins seem to be the same as mine, Auntie, can you please remind me which it is, please? Well, for us, it's the black bins. Last week was the recycling and compost bin, so it alternates. This week it's the compost bin, not the compost, it's the regular refuse bins. There you go. Glad you made it, and happy to see all the fun at the Forge lately. Who is that? That's Desiree. Yes. Tom A, very welcome. Late arrival to the episode. The slagging is good. Yeah, he's a busy man. He's a busy man. And sure, look, I remember during the pandemic, Tom, do you remember that? You were just starting off, furloughed, as they say, from the job and all the rest. Little did we know at that stage what lay ahead. Great things, you know. So apparently there's Aurora activity right now. I'm reading Aurora Borealis. And I just wanted to mention briefly, there's only 3 tickets left for my next event. And I'm hoping to have more of these over the winter, not necessarily in the same venue, although the venue that I've selected for this one is very nice. Coming up next week on the 17th, Thursday week, I'm hosting an event called Myths by the Fireside. It's sort of Ulla Conrad fell asleep. Wow. I have that effect on people. Very good. So I'm going to share the link where you can buy the last remaining 3 tickets. Myths by the Fireside at Whitestown House. Whitestown House is very close to the M1 motorway between Dublin and Drogheda, near the Knoll exit, and not far from Knoll Village. A grand old house set in its own private land, surrounded by mature trees. It's gorgeous. And what I'm going to do there is, there's going to be a crackling fire. The people who own the house are going to serve nibbles and drinks. And I'm just going to have a chat about Irish mythology. Was kind of hoping to particularly address the theme of the return of the Tuatha De Danann. There's no script for it, and it'll be very much, at times, a conversational event and a questions and answers event, as it were. A cozy setting. So I'm looking forward to that. It's kind of a trial run of something that I think I'd love to do on a regular basis, which is to get, especially in the wintertime, when the weather isn't favourable for doing talks and tours up on the likes of the Hill of Tara and Lough Crew and places like that, when it's lashing with rain and it's windy and it's cold. So Whitestown House Estate, the air code is on the webpage there, K32XY97. So there are only 3 tickets left. So if you're interested, if you're in Ireland and you're interested in coming to that event, somebody's saying Northern Lights are on show in Sligo. I'm not sure who that is. That's Sally Siggins. Yeah, I just saw that a few minutes ago. I just said that, Sally, that they're visible. Wow. Hopefully we'll get some clear spells and get to see them. Myths by the Fireside is on Thursday week. That is the 17th of October, from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. at Whitestown House, Delahassie, Knoll, County Dublin. All the details are on the link that I just sent as a comment. You should see that on both Facebook and on YouTube. I'll just send it again there, just in case. So get them quick, because when they're gone, as they say. Anyway, thank you very much for joining us this evening, folks. It's been an absolute pleasure, as it always is. Forgive the momentary technological issues at the beginning. And yeah, what a pleasure, as always. We're getting close to that big episode, number 300. Please do tune in next week. In the meantime, don't forget, if you haven't done so already, sign up for the email newsletter once a week, sometimes twice a week, but mostly once a week. And oftentimes delving deeper into a particular subject. And also, please do help to support Mythical Ireland by signing up to become a paying patron, not a free patron, because you don't get really anything. The paying patrons are the ones who get the exclusive material. I'm also sharing the text of my largest book ever written with patrons at the Bronze Age level and above in particular. And don't forget to peruse the website, mythicalireland.com, especially the shop. Because if you buy some books or calendars or hand-forged artworks, or a gift card for somebody, you're helping to keep me in a job, because basically I'm almost entirely self-employed these days. Thank you very much. Hope you all have a great week. We'll see you next week for Live Irish Myths, and we'll continue our wonderful exploration of monastic and bardic schools and life in medieval learning Ireland. In the meantime, take it easy. Take it easy, and that's the most important one. Hope to see you all soon. A very good night from Mythical Ireland.